The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So, 7 Steps to Permanent Weight Loss webinar today. Thank you so much for being here. It is 11 a.m. my time. It is good evening to those from the States. And if any UKers are online, thank you so much, because I imagine you're sitting up in bed right now with maybe a cuppa and your pajamas because it's the middle of the night. And also we've got someone from Bali, so I'm thinking that you are a lot warmer than we are in Melbourne. But thank you so much for your time and making the effort to be here. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at what I believe are the 7 steps to permanent weight loss. And I want you to consider these sort of like the pillars or the foundations of what you need to do in order for you to go forward and get to that place where you want to be, that healthier version of you. So quickly, just going through them, we have mindset. I believe that is absolutely number one, because your head needs to be in that right space so that you can then make healthier choices, better choices about the way you move your body, the way you behave, the way you think about yourself, so that you'll become a healthier version of you. Then we're going to go into Nutrition 101. You know, I'm all into education. You know, it's all very well and good for me to sit here and tell you what to eat and how to eat it. But, you know, at least if you have an understanding of that basis of why I'm telling you this, then it enables you and empowers you essentially to make healthier choices. Then we'll look at mindful eating, which for those of you that know me well, know that I'm a big proponent of mindful eating. Habits and cravings, we all know about those, so we'll talk about that. Emotional eating, we all know about that. Lifestyle factors, which really have a big role in your weight loss journey, and the importance of goals. So I'd like to, first of all, just start off with requirements for change. You know, I suspect because you have turned up today that you would like to implement some change in your life. And these are the things that you kind of have to accept right now. One, that you know it's a problem for you. So whether that be your weight or your health or the way you think about yourself, you know that it's a problem and you'd like to change it. Two, you need to realize it can be different for you. And just having that realization itself is the first step, because you know that you can go forward from here. And finally, three, you need to realize it's up to you to make it different. You know, my intention today is share with you lots of tips and tools and strategies that you can implement from the very end of this video. But it's up to you to make a difference. You know, you might feel that I'm sitting on your shoulder from time to time, but really, I can't be with you 24/7. So you take that information forward and work with it and implement it, and you will see that change will happen. Healthy change will happen, which is fabulous. I love this one. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. So I'm guessing, you know, maybe you've tried in the past magic pills, potions, diet shakes, diets. Guess what? They don't work. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. And I'm also guessing that that's probably why you're here. So what you've tried in the past hasn't really worked for you. Or maybe it did for a short time, but then you found you fell back into your old ways and all that effort falls by the wayside. You know, you might have gone on for a couple of months and lost some weight, or maybe you went on for 6 or 12 months, but then slowly but surely you slip back into your old ways and the weight just slowly creeps back on. And that's okay. You know, it's not worth beating yourself up about, because you need to be excited, because all those efforts have brought you to where you are right now. And where I should say is that you're right here with me. So first, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I do have a lot to share with you, and I'm very mindful of our time. In fact, I was doing a rehearsal this morning, and I suspect I probably tried to cram too much in, but that's all the better for you. So if I speak quickly, just bear with me and let me know, because I just want to share so much. A little bit of housework for you that's going to make your time here better, seeing that's what's up on screen. So just turn off every other distraction, silence the mobile phone like I have, close the other tabs on your computer, and just devote the next 45, 60 minutes or so discovering how you can start to look and feel amazing from right now. I just want to share with you that I'm also excited about my new program, which is launching today, and I will share with you some of the information about that during this webinar. So who am I? For those of you that don't know me or haven't met me, I like that. I was born a long time ago. And let me just jump to 2004. So essentially what happened, my past life was in advertising, in various advertising agencies after I left uni. And absolutely loved that. However, found that once I sort of had a family and had the kids, it really wasn't conducive to work-life balance. So I started looking at other opportunities, and my mentor said to me at the time, if you're going to spend the next 20 years of your life working, and work is a very important part of me, then you may as well be doing something that you're passionate about. So then I thought long and hard, and once I got my head around that whole concept, I started realizing that I was just really keen on health and nutrition, and why some people are able to sort of live their lives in this sort of healthy path while other people struggle. And so I took myself back to uni in 2004, and I did a postgrad diploma in human nutrition, which was wonderful. And then I started working in 2007 with a paediatrician, and we worked together and we did overweight kids and teenagers and their families, because you need to work as that family unit for that success. And really loved that, and it was a really great experience for me. Then at the end of probably 2007, 2009, I think it was, I started working one-on-one with women. And look, a few men did sneak on my couch and still continue to sneak onto my couch today, but it's predominantly women. And I was really concentrating on the whole weight loss thing, and I just found that they were coming to me and, they said, I know what to do, I know what I should put in my mouth, I know that I should move my body, but I just can't get my head in the right place. And I became, really frustrated that I wasn't able to help them with putting their head in the right place. And I thought I must be able to find out how to do that. So a little bit of research later, and taking myself off to Queensland, which is another state in Australia, I became certified in the Activate Your Mind program, which is uses techniques to neuro-linguistic programming and other change behavior techniques. And it was a perfect answer for me to help my clients, because it's the first thing that I do with them is I get their head in the right place. And then what happens is dropping the weight, motivated to exercise, all just comes so much easier, and it's far more effortless than having not got their head in the right place in the first place. So that was fantastic. So that's essentially what I've been doing for the last 5 years, one-on-one, which I've absolutely loved. And then in 2014, last year, I decided to create a new crisis for myself, and I just felt I really wanted to take my business online. So I spent the last 12 months learning about the whole world of online business. I went to an online business school, and I've been very much involved in that world for 12 months, which I've loved. It's been a huge learning curve, and I suppose that's how we are here today. We're doing a webinar, and I'm reaching people from across the globe. And in May, I held a 21-day mindful eating challenge, and we had 100 challenges from around the world. So that was pretty exciting. And I love the fact that I'm able to make that impact on people across the globe. I think it's incredible. I mean, it's the world we live in. Some other stuff about me. I am a mum of 3 boys who I adore. What else? I like to be fit and healthy. It's part of who I am. And I'm a Francophile, so I'm mad about all things French. I learn French, and one day I'm going to buy a little French farmhouse, but that will happen eventually, not right now, because the 3 boys are keeping me very busy. So enough about me. Moving on. Mindset, number 1, getting your head in the right place. As I said, I just can't impress on you how important it is. As I said, clients say they know what to do, but it doesn't happen for them. And usually it's a low self-esteem, a lack of confidence. As I dig further with them and ask them more questions, this is what comes out. They don't feel good about the way they look. They don't feel good about the way they feel. They're constantly telling themselves negative thoughts and giving themselves a hard time. And so all of that going on in your head is not putting you in a good space for you to drop the weight. But the good news is you can get your head in the right place. And obviously working with a coach can be very fast and effective. And yes, this is what I do with my intensive programs with my clients. But there are strategies that you can begin to use as of right now. And that's the beauty, and that's what I want you to do and take away from today is strategies and tools that you can implement from the very end of this webinar. This is my monkey, and he talks monkey chatter. You know, that incessant noise and negative talk that goes on in your head, and often, 24/7. Usually the only time the monkeys shut up is somewhere while you're sleeping. I remember I had one client who told me the first thing she thought upon waking is she'd give herself this little pep talk about what she was going to eat during the day and how healthy she was going to be and where she was going to do her exercise. And then inevitably, at the end of the day, as her head hit the pillow, she'd be giving herself a hard time and saying, well, that didn't work and you're hopeless and, what's the point? And that was the thoughts that were constantly going on. And she berated herself for everything she did wrong. And the crazy thing is, we talk to ourselves like that, but I don't think we treat our best friend the way that we do ourselves. So why do we do it to ourselves? It's a really good question to talk about. And the neat thing is that negative thoughts will create a negative reaction in your body, and positive thoughts will create a positive reaction. So living in this negativity is not good for your health. So we need to find ways that we can get out of that negative space. So what occupies your mind, whether consciously or unconsciously, tends to turn into your reality, and that reality becomes your behaviour. I'm sure you've all heard the saying, how thoughts become your words, words become your actions, actions become your habits become your character, and character becomes your destiny. So those thoughts are extremely important because as I said, if you are giving yourself a hard time, you're going to stay in this negative headspace and you're going to stay stuck in this rut. So how do we change these thoughts? Well, there are various ways that you can do it. And as I said, this is what I do with my clients using a timeline therapy. But a way that you can do it right now is and it takes practice. It's not going to happen straight away. You just have to start practicing as of now. But when you think that negative thought, what I want you to do is try and stop yourself mid-thought, or if you get to the end of the thought, just stop. And then just be aware of that thought and first of all, take a deep belly breath, and you'll see that concept of deep belly breathing runs throughout this whole webinar. And if you need some help on that, just go to Google and search how do I deep belly breath, and it will come up with thousands of little videos on YouTube to teach you exactly how to do it. So as I said, take a deep breath, and then what I want you to do is create some space in your head. So if you could just imagine that the thought is there in your mind, and then whether you just imagine yourself stepping back from that thought and really having a good look at it and saying, well, is that true? Or whether you just put that thought aside and put a but at the end of it and go like, I'm overweight. You might say, but I'm a fabulous public speaker, or I'm very confident, or I have a strong body, whatever you might say, but it has to be something positive. So you replace that negative thought with a positive one. Another way you can do it is, I like this method whereby when you say that negative thought and you stop at mid-tracks, you just take the breath and just imagine in your mind that there's a light that you can see in front of that negative thought. And I want you to go to that light, and that's where you're going to find your positivity. So that's where you're going to think about that positive thought. And to make it easier on yourself, in the initial stages of practicing this, come up with a thought which just has really positive vibes for you. Or it could be a memory. It might be when you're on holiday with friends or family and you're just having a fabulous time and life was good. Or it might be when you're at work and you just nailed a presentation. Or it might just be a time when you're on your own, meditating or walking or hiking, or just after you've just feeling really good about yourself, and really remember that image in your mind and go there and see how you looked and feel how you feel and all those positive vibes. And that will just make it easier for you to drop that negative thought. And if you have to go to the same positive thought all the time, that's okay. That's not a problem, because that positive thought is having a far greater effect on your health than the negative one. So it's all about reframing and creating those new positive thoughts that are going to work for you. So moving along, Nutrition 101. Little did you know you were here for a university class on nutrition. So the diet cycle, as I mentioned, they don't work. I am not a diet person. And I'd like you to say out loud right now, I don't do diets, because guess what? They don't work. I think it's 5% of people who diet keep their weight off after 12 months permanently. The average length of a diet is about 15 days. And I think I've read some ridiculous statistic where the amount of women that go on a diet is something like 70, 80%. That's a little bit scary. Now, also what the diet cycle puts you into is that negative state. So you start the diet, you're all motivated, you say, okay, I'm going to lose a couple of Ks, and then you go, okay, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to cut this out and this out and this out, and then I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to restrict my food intake. Well, that's automatically, restriction and deprivation is automatically negativity, because you're thinking, I can't have this, and I can't have that. And you're constantly then thinking about these foods that you can't have, and you don't get particularly excited about the foods that you can have. So then you start having, again, these negative thoughts in your mind, and then your mind goes, well, hang on, I want that. And then it starts craving it and goes, oh, I'd like some sugar, or I'd like a bit of cake, I really want some chocolate, or whatever it might be that you've decided to cut out. And then suddenly your cravings are going on, and then that's fighting against you. And then eventually the cravings gets, so heightened that you just give in, and you go stuff it, and then you give in, and then all of a sudden you find yourself with your head in the pantry or the head in the fridge, consuming whatever you can. And then guess what? You go into this guilt phase, and you go, you start beating yourself up on what you've done or what you haven't done. And again, it's a negative emotion that's going on. It's all surrounding this diet cycle. Rejoice and say out loud, I don't do diets. I'm not on a diet. I'm just changing the way I live for the better from right now. So some of those statistics I was talking about, most women will gain an average of 8 kilos. It's about 17.5 pounds of body fat between 25 and 55 years. Woo! That's tough. And men gain an average of 13 kilos or 30 pounds in the first 5 years of marriage. And his name is Mr. Content. Now, just to give you an idea of putting that weight gain on for women over that period of time, we're looking at a measly 5 to 10 calories per day. But guess what? You add those up per week, per month, per year, and all of a sudden you have weight gain. I don't want you to get caught up in the how much calories is this and how much is calorie out this. I'm not about weighing things. I'm not about measuring things and how many calories in things, but it is just good to understand, and again, that's education for me is empowerment, that 1 kilo of body fat, and I'm actually talking about holding that fat in your hand, is 7,700 calories. That's a hell of a lot of burning to do, and it's 37,000 kilojoules. That's why I don't like to talk in kilojoules, because there's just way too many of them. So the old way to drop the weight was mainly about calories. So it was calories in plus calories out is equal whatever weight you were. And if you wanted to lose weight, there were 3 ways that you could approach it. You could reduce your intake, so reduce your food you're eating every day, and your output, meaning your exercise, remains much as is. You could increase your exercise and activity, and your food intake just remains the same. Or the final one, which people tended to do, or tend still to do, no doubt, is that they increase their food intake and then they increase their output, and that's how they intend to lose the weight. But it hasn't been happening, and this may have happened for you. And that's why I really believe that this is the old way to lose weight, but there is a new way to shed the kilos and the pounds. And I'm a big proponent of that 80% of weight loss is about what you put in your mouth, and 20% is how you move your body. And I get excited when a couple of personal trainers and exercise physiologists are coming out in social media today and saying that this is the case. And, you could argue, what are they? I mean, they might like to reverse it and say 80% is how you move your body and 20% is you move in your mouth. But that's actually not the case. And they're being honest and truthful with their clients. And I think that is really, really important. And when I talked about calories, the calories of real food, and that's food that is, it's fresh fruit and vegetables, it's meat, it's dairy, it's grains, but it's not refined grains, it's the ancient grains and some of the, the whole grain complex, I don't want to say complex grains, but it's legumes, it's nuts, it's seeds, it's real food that is been, grows outside, is under the sun and the wind and the rain and lives off the land. So that's what I'm talking about versus the calories of processed food. They just don't equal each other. And this is what the new, I suppose it's essentially new regime is all about. I'm just giving you this visual so that you can just have a really good look of what calorie. I mean, again, I don't want to concentrate on calories, but it's a really good picture to describe how it works. So this is all 400 calories, and this is your stomach. So there we go. Oil, about 4 or 5 tablespoons of oil. That will just it'll dribble on the bottom of your stomach. And then we have the chicken nuggets, and say that would be equivalent to about 10 chicken nuggets and all that fabulous processed guck. And then we have the vegetables, and you can see that the same amount of calories will fill your stomach and have a far, far better effect on the health of your body and your cells than the other two. I don't want to spend too much time on this slide, but I just want to give you a really quick history lesson. Ancel Keys in the 50s, I think his main aim was to get himself on the front cover of Time, and guess what? He did that. But in a nutshell, what he did was he did a research study to establish the direct link of fat and cholesterol with heart disease. So saying that if you eat diets high in fat and cholesterol, you are going to get heart disease. And he published a study called the 7-country study. What he failed to do, just a small problem on his behalf, was that he left out 16 countries that didn't support his findings. So he only put in the countries that did support his findings. So it was called, what the scientists called, is cherry picking his results. But it was kind of too late, because then everyone got on the bandwagon, and fat and cholesterol found in foods were absolutely banned. They were the new bad guy on the block. And food manufacturers got onto it quick smart, and they said, okay, let's just strip all of our food of fat. And that's when we became low fat, no fat, 2% fat, you name it, what kind of fat was gone. But the thing is, when you remove fat from food, guess what goes? Also, the taste and the satiety. So what they had to do was find something else to replace that taste with. And the winner was sugar. And all of a sudden, sugar is in all of our products, and fat was taken out. And food manufacturers went gangbusters. But you can see the correlation from about the 70s to today. So over the last 40 years or so, when fat was removed from food and sugar was put into food, the rise in obesity, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disease, you name it, has just skyrocketed and is literally in correlation with the time from when sugar became one of the main ingredients of our food industry. Pretty scary stuff. And, it all comes back to this guy and the false evidence that he gave us way back then. So calories don't work anymore, because weight gain is not so much about the energy or the calorie. Weight gain is more about the information. So if you've been gaining weight or not being able to drop the weight, It's because you're eating foods or doing activities that simply tell your body to stack on the kilos. So if the food gives your body the right message, then you're going to get vibrant health. But if the food gives you the wrong message, then you're going to have miserable health. Let me just give you a quick example of this. No doubt you've heard about essential fats. There are essential fats and there are essential proteins. Interestingly, there are no essential carbs, but that means when they're called essential, it means that your body cannot produce them. Your body's amazing, but it can't do everything. And so therefore you need to get these essential fats and essential proteins from your diet. And the two essential fats that you need to get are omega-3 and omega-6s. They're both fatty acids and they both have the same amount of calories. Omega-3s, I'm sure you've heard about, they're often referred to as brain food, but we find them in things like eggs, cold water fish, salmon, sardines, that sort of thing, walnuts, beef, make sure it's grass-fed, not grain-fed, and other seeds like flax and chia. And look, you can Google all sorts of things where you'll find omega-3s. And then omega-6s, on the other hand, yes, they are found in real food, what I call real food, but in much, much smaller quantities. But they're found also in vegetable oils. So that's your canolas, your sunflowers, your corn, soils, all that sort of stuff. They're found in salad dressings that you'll find throughout the supermarket. They're found in mayonnaises, processed breads, snack food, fast food, cookies, biscuits, pastries, and yes, you can see what I'm inferring here. So they're found in a lot of processed foods. And I know this sounds a bit icky, but this is how we discover how we can improve our health. There was a research study done where the mouse had cancer tumor growth, and they injected the growth directly with omega-3s. The result, what happened to the tumor was it actually slowed and even reversed its growth. So guess what? A really good positive result. The omega-3s promoted health with that cancer tumor. When they did the same thing with omega-6s, the growth of the tumor accelerated by 4%. That's kind of pretty scary because that's promoting what I was talking about earlier, that miserable health and inflammation. So if your diet is high in processed foods, the message you're sending your body and your cells are inflammatory messages. You're actually telling your body to store fat and lose muscle and bone, and I'm guessing that's not exactly what you want. So inflammation is interfering with your metabolic processes, and it blocks all the signals and it builds fat. So therefore, it's the inflammation that's actually doing more harm than the calories. So it's something to be really aware of if you're consuming a lot of high processed foods. Think real food. So how do you work about this? Okay, so what not to do? Processed foods. Just try and stay away from them as much as possible. Sugar. There's a new movie documentary in Australia. I'm not sure if they've gone worldwide yet. And he has one segment in the movie where he removes every product off the supermarket shelf that contains sugar, and 80% of the products disappear in an instant. It's kind of frightening, and that's how insidious sugar has become in the food industry, in the food manufacturing industry. Vegetable oils, as I mentioned, I mean, I could probably do a whole webinar on sugar and vegetable oils, but guess what? They're not healthy for you. They're high in omega-6s. I'm not bagging omega-6s in normal real foods. I'm bagging omega-6s in all the processed food. And obviously fast food is going to be completely full of it. So just, today, just look at ways that you can start cutting this stuff out of your diet. So what do? You do eat that real food that I was talking about earlier. It is fresh vegetables, it's fruit, it's nuts, it's seeds, it's meat if that's your inclination. It's lots of fabulous fish. It's, what else is it? It's dairy, it's legumes, it's grains. Stay away from the processed grains. I'm not a big eater of grains. I'm not a big fan of gluten, but that's a whole nother story. But just choose stuff which is really not supermarket bread. Just choose a quality bakery where you know that they're putting in the good stuff and leaving the bad stuff out. So therefore, if you're doing that, what you'd be doing is eating food that sends the right messages to your cells, and that's what you want for vibrant health. A good way to think about this is shopping outside the rim of the supermarket. So most supermarkets worldwide follow a similar floor plan. So when you walk in, like when I walk into my local one, I walk straight into the fruit and veg section. And then if you follow the rim around, then I go into the meat section, which leads to the deli section, which then goes on to the dairy. And that pretty much brings us back around out to the tills, but in the middle you might have 10 aisles of processed food. I only want you going into those aisles for your laundry detergent, your dog food, your toothpaste, maybe some brown rice, some whole grain pasta, obviously, some basic staples like that, but try and avoid all the other aisles, because essentially that's all that packaged food and processed food, which is just made by men in white lab coats and women with hairnets. I don't recommend it. Just quickly, I want to touch on something that you can implement straight away. It's called the quarter half rule. If you imagine your dinner plate as a circle, so 1/4 of that plate is your protein source. So that's your meat, your legumes, your fish, etc. And the portion size should be no bigger than the size of your palm, and that's the thickness. And I'm not including your fingers, we're just talking purely the palm. If it's fish, obviously you can go as big as you want. I don't have a problem, you can eat lots of fish. The other 1/4 of your plate is filled with what I call starchy carbs. So they would be your sweet potatoes, your brown rice, your whole grain noodles, whole grain pasta, etc. And then guess what the other plate, half of your plate is? That would be your salad and veg. And if you can just start to look at that, and I think visualizing that on a plate makes it a lot easier for you. And then obviously you have to incorporate mindful eating, which I'll talk about, but you can also work this in with your lunch. So say you were having a whole grain wrap for lunch, then you had your protein source in it, which might be your egg or tuna or salmon or cheese or organic ham. You would then put that in, and that would be 1/4 of it, and then you would fill it up with lots of salad and veg. And that's how you can adapt it for lunch and dinner. So it's just an easy way for you to work through portions, etc. Water obviously is extremely important. 75-80% of our body is water, and I think it's quite amazing that we're standing up, really. But you can work out how much water you should be drinking based on your body weight. So I tell my clients, if you work out, it's 30 mils of water per kilo of body weight. And I'm not quick enough to do the conversion into pounds, but say you're 60 kilos, then you're looking at about 1.8 litres of water a day. If you're 70 kilos, you're looking at about 2.1 litres of water per day. I think some will argue more, go up to 3 litres. I don't. I think 2 litres is fantastic, and particularly because from now on you're going to be increasing a lot more fruit and veg, particularly veg. Keep the fruit to no more than 2 pieces a day. Because you're increasing the amount of veg you're having, they are water-rich foods, which are fabulous. So that's also providing extra water for you, which you probably weren't having before. So I touched on mindful eating. Look, due to time, I think I'm going to just go over this very quickly, but you can go to my website on carolinesilk.com, and there is 2 free resources for you. There's a PDF rulebook on how to eat mindfully, and there's also some free audio training. If you go not to the home page but any other page, you'll see that resource on the side. You just have to put your name and email address in, and it will be sent to your inbox. And that's quite an in-depth training on how to eat mindfully. Look, it's just 3 trainings in, I think, 3 10-minute bursts, so it's not difficult. But I don't have that sort of 30 minutes here. So that's where you will find them. But let me just quickly go over. Mindful eating is incredibly popular. Mr. Google is telling us that, it's now a hot topic. And for those that don't know, being mindful is the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. And why I love to introduce mindful eating to my clients and for them to implement it into their everyday is because it's not a diet, and I'm not a diet person. So you're not entering that state of deprivation or restriction. So there's no negativity around about it. The whole thing about mindful eating is it's surrounded by positivity, which is fantastic. And because it's become so popular, there's a lot more research going on, and we know for a fact that mindful eating promotes weight loss. And yay, that's what we want to do. So just quickly, and I'm going to be quick about this, but so this is how it works in a very brief 1-minute statement. So something makes you think about food, whether you walk past a bakery or you walk into a kitchen and you can smell food, but something the thought of food comes into your head. So the first question, and this is now to become your mantra, am I hungry? Okay, so check in with your physical hunger. Are you aware of your physical hunger? If you're a snacker and you've just been snacking all day, then it's highly unlikely that you're ever allowing yourself to get hungry. So what I'd like you to do from now, because it's mid-morning here, is not eat again until you're actually hungry. So really feel that hunger sensation and what it feels like in your body. And look, I don't want you to get starving. I don't want you to pass out on me, but just be aware of what hunger feels like for you, because a lot of people, as I said, aren't. And this is to become your new mantra. The first thing I want you to do is once you have established that you've got this feeling of hunger, I want you to have a glass of water. Often your body will present thirst in the feeling of hunger. So have that glass of water, and that's also going to help you to get your water intake up. And then wait a couple of minutes. And then if you find that, yes, you actually really are hungry and your stomach's starting to rumble or whatever it might do, then guess what? Yay, you're hungry and it's time to refuel. This is your body talking to you. And as you get better at this, you will learn to listen to your body, because it's got a whole lot to say. So just let's imagine we're sitting in a cafe and it's lunchtime, and I want you to have a look at the menu and just consider 3 options to eat. And with each option, just ask yourself, how's that going to make me feel? Is it really what I want? Is it healthy? How will I feel after I've finished it? And always at the back of your mind, is it going to help you achieve your goal? And then decide on the one you really want. And look, it may not be the healthiest of 3, but that's okay, because as you get better at this, what you find is you start to lean into mindful eating and you start to eat a lot more healthy foods. And what you do is you start to crowd out the unhealthy eating. Okay, so let's just say you're in the cafe, your meal arrives, you're excited, you're hungry, it's what you want. So first of all, I want you to hear, so deep breaths again. I want you to take 3 deep breaths and just 3 slow belly breaths, which will just help you calm, like I just did now. And then chew slowly. So start your meal and just chew very slowly. I say between 20 to 30 chews per mouthful. I have read in some reports where they think you should chew up to 70 times. I think that's personally a little bit too much, and you'll be eating a meal for 2 days, but we don't want you doing that. So the whole digestion process starts in the mouth, and the messages between gut and brain start working. So just chew slowly. And then I want you to do is stop about halfway through your meal and check in with yourself and just see how you're feeling. Are you hungry? Not sure. Are you full? I doubt it. Are you satisfied? Maybe. And then again, keep going, and then stop about 3/4 of the way through your meal and do the same thing. And maybe even put your knife and fork down, push your plate away, and just really check in with yourself. Am I hungry? Well, I imagine that would be a definite no. Am I full? Well, you actually could be there depending on how much was on your plate. But the place I want you to get to is that you are 80% full, that you are satisfied, content, happy, but you don't have that feeling of heaviness in your stomach, because that's when you've actually eaten too much. It's what the Japanese say is hari hachi ban mi. You can tell I learned French, not Japanese. But essentially it is, I was recently reading, it's the longest term of restriction diet that we know of, but it's restriction because it's their culture that they only eat until you are 8 parts full. And they do this on the island of Okinawa, and I think it has spread throughout Japan through the centuries, but the Okinawans are one of the longest living populations even today. So I think they've got something right, and they're incredibly healthy, and they have very little illness, and they certainly don't have overweight and obesity as part of their population. So that's essentially what I want you to find, that place where you are 80% full and you're just satisfied, content. Finish your meal. If there's something left on your plate, fine. You can save it from the time that you're hungry, because guess what? Next time you're hungry, you go through the process again. Or you can give it to the dog, or you can just put it away. Whatever you need to do. But just finish your meal and move on with your life. Enjoy, have fun, and don't just sit there and eat until you're full and get that heavy feeling in your stomach. So the next pillar I want to talk about is habits. We all know we all have them, and they can play havoc with our health, both mentally and physically, but they're actually there for a reason. We establish these habits over time, and every behavior, even bad behavior, has a positive intent. And often you can't see what that positive intent is, but it's called a secondary gain. So when you really analyze that behavior, let's just take, it's not food, but let me give you an example of graffiti. I'm not sure about in the States, but graffiti artists here are actually, they're not allowed to do it unless it's an organised thing, and they can be fined for their work. And they know that, but they go out ahead and do it anyway. And the secondary gain that they're getting is, despite it being considered a bad behaviour, is that they are, they're marking their stamp, they're showing to their peers their artistic abilities, they're creative, they're doing whatever, but that is the gain that they're getting, even though we may not view that behavior as positive. And that's what happens with habits. You may not view them as positive, but somewhere behind that habit, you're actually getting a positive secondary gain from it. So you need to start sort of having a look at it. So the easiest way I think to do that is, I can do that in 5 minutes, but I'll talk about that in a moment, but is to track your behavior just in your iPhone, in a journal, or just keep a piece of paper in your handbag. Just notice, write down some of your habits. Look at when you're doing them, look at the environment where you're doing it, look at the mood you're in, and you'll start to notice a pattern, particularly with eating. Most of my clients have problems with after dinner. They have problems between that sort of 4 and 6 period. They might have issues with mid-morning, or in the office when they get up to go and make that coffee or whatever, they'll go past the lolly jar or the chocolate jar, and these are all habits that they've got. So just track your behavior, and you'll start to notice when they're happening. People say to you, just stop doing it. You don't have to do it. Just you can break that habit, but it's not that easy. You need to replace the old habit with a new one. And this is a way that a strategy again that you can implement from now. So once you've established what your habits are, you can replay them in your mind. Well, no, first of all, I want you to remove the triggers from around. So if it is you standing in front of the pantry after dinner and you're not hungry because you've just had a fabulous meal and you're happy and you're satisfied and you're content, and it's only an hour later, and guess what? You're not hungry an hour later. So just remove those triggers, just for a little while. Don't buy the cookies, don't buy the chocolate, don't buy the gooey cheese that's, you attack in the fridge every night. And that just make it a little bit easier on yourself, but also replay in your mind when you have it. So say, for example, had dinner, cleaned up, go to the couch, watching your favourite series on television or whatever. That finishes 9 o'clock at night. Your habit is that you get up and go and stand in the front of the pantry or the fridge. Okay, what are you going to do instead? Guess what? You're not hungry, so let's just make a cup of tea. Let's go for a walk around the block. Let's go and get organised for tomorrow. But just think of something else that you can replace the old habit with, and just start to implement that. I think I mentioned earlier that, your subconscious mind has 2 blueprints of your health. It's the original blueprint of you in true health, and it's the blueprint that you keep talking about today in your subconscious mind. So this is just one of the ways that you can start moving back to that original fabulous blueprint of you, very healthy. And don't beat yourself up. There is no failure, only feedback. So when you do fall back into those habits, just take the time when you're ready, not immediately. Give yourself a couple of hours or the next day and just look back and say, okay, what happened? Why was I doing it? Was I stressed? Was I frustrated? Was I bored, angry, tired, whatever it might be, and just reassess how you can do it better next time. And likewise with cravings. 91% of women experience food cravings. Men, 70%. And you'll hear people say it's all in your head. Well, actually it is. Cravings are fueled by the feel-good hormones like dopamine, and you just want more. And this could be another whole science project, which I won't go into, but they are fueled by emotions, and they're fueled by desires and chemicals and things going on in your brain. And so often they're very difficult to fight. But I don't want you fighting to them, but then I don't want you surrendering to them. So a way of looking at those cravings, again, in your mantra from now on is, am I hungry? So when you feel that craving, ask yourself. And you might be in a position to say, no, Caroline, you're not hungry. You have the glass of water, you move away, you leave the kitchen, you leave the pantry, and you go do something else. Or you might say, am I stressed? And guess what? Stress brings on cravings. So consider what your body wants or needs at that time. Maybe you've eaten a lot during the day, which is sort of high carb, high sugar. And guess what? That's just going to stimulate cravings because your sugar levels are going to be all over the place. And we don't want that. That doesn't promote dropping the weight. So look at those foods that you've previously eaten, which might be causing it. And then again, stop and change that thought. Create that space around it. You need to leave a certain amount of time from the time that you get the craving to responding. And if you can just create that time and create a distraction for yourself, whether it be music or go for a walk, guess what? That craving will subside and you can move on and do better things. And as I said, if you give into it, just say, okay, I'll have one bite. Don't eat the whole packet. Don't eat the whole pizza. Don't eat the whole tub of ice cream. Don't eat the whole block of chocolate. Just have a couple of pieces. Enjoy it. Really savor it. Eat it mindfully. Don't beat yourself up and just move on. So it's at this point that I actually want to introduce you to my new program, which is being launched today. Yay! And we are it starts on the 27th of July and runs for 6 weeks. And it's called the Refocus, Renew You Wellness and Weight Loss Program. So I'm just going to have a really quick drink of water and check the time because I'm very aware of the time. And this is the embarrassing part when you can read a lovely testimonial that a recent client of mine wrote for me, which was very sweet. And the beauty of this was she came to me, she only wanted to lose about 5 kilos. And last check-in, she'd lost 8 and was feeling fabulous. So that was great. Now, she did my one-on-one signature program where we worked together fairly intensively. And this is how I arrived at this program because that's what I've been doing with clients for the last 5 years and loved it and had some great success. But I thought, how can I share this? How can I reach a greater audience? How can I just know this whole mindset thing is so important in your health journey and you have to get it in the right place. And I thought, well, how can I share that with people? So I created the program. And so the program consists of 6 weeks. When you join, you will get your password and you will be invited into a membership site. And each week you will receive a module, and essentially it's a very in-depth version of what we're talking about today. And I give you far, far more information, strategies, tips and tools. Your toolbox will be so full that you'll have to drag it out of there. I make it a very varied learning journey. Everyone learns differently, and I find that some people like audio, some people like visual presentations, some people like to read things. So I'm covering all those bases. So there'll be transcripts, audios, video presentations. I'm also creating a private Facebook forum, and that's for you to join, where you can go in every day, and I love to say we can share your struggles and shout your successes. So I'll be in there every day and I'll be answering every question that you have. Maybe I might have Sundays off, but essentially I'll be there every day, one-on-one for you, one-on-one for all of you that join the program. And you'll get that extra support because I really want this to work. And I know it can. I'm also including some bonuses. If you sign up, there'll obviously be some extra bonuses, and it's outcome based. I believe that you implement this, and like I said in the very beginning, it's up to you to make that action. But if you implement this, you will get the results that you want, and I actually guarantee that. And so I've got that in the information pack, which you can read all about. So if you do want to end your struggle with diets and to say, I'm never on a diet again, and to end that sort of constant obsessing over food, to stop that monkey chatter and stop giving yourself a hard time, to stop hating your body. I've got clients that have hated their body, and they just, I ask them, how do you feel about your body? And they say, I hate it. And that's such a sad thing to hear. And, it doesn't have to be that way. Or they'll say, I hate my thighs, I hate my butt, I hate my stomach, I hate my arms. Hate's a very strong word, but that's a really, really negative way to feel about your body. And we only have this one body. It ain't a dress rehearsal. So we really need to look after it. And it can be the vehicle for a fabulous life. So why wouldn't you want to make it the best it can be? And also to get out of that stuck rut. If you're at that stage in your life where you're just not sure of direction and feeling unclear about where you want to go, this program is perfect for you. This program isn't perfect for you if you're one of those people that want to lose 5 kilos in 5 days. Yes, it sells magazines, but it doesn't sell me, and I'm not going to do that. So it's not for you if that's the case. It's not for you if you want to drop a dress size in a week, or you tighten your belt by 3 notches. And it's not for you if you want someone else to do the work for you. I mean, as I said, I'm giving you all the tools and tips and strategies, and I'm there to support and coach you, enormously. But it's up to you to make the changes and to implement the changes and to do the work. And change doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to make it hard. It can be easy. And if you've got that positive mindset, it's really easy. And it's not for you if you like living in your stuck rut. If you just are happy to live there and blame everyone and everything else for who you are and what you are. And that's not what this program is about. This is about you getting out of that rut and being the driver of your own bus and just going forward and being fabulous. So imagine if you knew exactly what you needed to do in terms of your health and weight loss journey. Imagine having, limitless energy and being nourished from the inside out and just not having that afternoon slump and that mid-morning crash. Imagine feeling motivated, inspired. It would affect your life. It'll affect your relationships, your work, your career, your family. Imagine having that confidence. Imagine falling in love again. And I'm not talking about a new partner. I'm talking about you. Imagine falling in love again with you and being able to look at yourself in the mirror and go, yes, this is me. I'm fabulous. I'm fit. I'm healthy. And just being in that place, you can live the life that you've dreamed. You won't be living that life of, I'll do it when, if I just do this, I'll do that. It's like it's doing it from now and just taking it forward. So I've got an offer today being the launch, and that is $5.97. So it's Australian dollars. So for my American listeners, you get a super fabulous price because our Aussie dollar is not fabulous at the moment. So that's about 25% off that for you. And likewise, I think for UK. And as I mentioned, I'm going to do a bonus, and it's a one-on-one 45-minute session to kick those cravings and habits out. And I know that I can't go into the detail here, but I can absolutely do it in that time for you. And look, I can love to chat, and if it takes 60 minutes or it takes 90 minutes, then I will just make sure that it happens. And just while I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about another bonus, but I'm going to reveal that one at the end of the webinar. So checking on the time, this is where you need to go through. I've nearly gone to the hour, so I'm very aware of that. What I want to do just now, I know it's a long URL and I apologize for that, but I will put it into the chat box. So I just need to go off my screen for one tick and go into the chat box now and type in this URL. I actually tried to change the URL this morning because I realized it was so long and I couldn't. The computer wouldn't let me. So this will take you directly to the link when you click on it. So refocus renewyou.com wellness weight loss program sent to all of you. Yes. Fabulous. That worked. So back to my computer and back to me. There we go. So that's where you go. You can go to that page. You can read all about it. Lots of information. It has my email address if you have any questions. Please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm more than happy to chat. As you know, I said before, I like to talk a lot. So where were we? Emotional eating. I'm sorry about this. I'm going to have to be brief because I don't want to keep you longer than you need. Guess what? I'm guessing you have felt these various emotions at different times throughout your day, week, month, life, and sometimes some more than others. They are the negative emotions. But guess what? Emotional eating is all about eating when you're not physically hungry, or eating, what you're doing is you're eating to fill an emotional need. And food is just purely a distraction. It's a comfort. It's relief. Or you actually might see it as a reward, like, hey, guess what? I've done something, or I'm this, or I'm that. So I'm just going to celebrate with a whole chocolate cake. Guess what? That doesn't work, because what happens is you'll eat the food, you'll start to feel guilty, but that emotion that you were eating earlier is still there. So emotions are actually there for a reason. They're your subconscious mind talking to you, telling you to take action. You can't continue to repress these emotions and push them out of the way, because what happens is they're going to keep eating, you're going to just keep eating your way through them. So that's your choice, or you can start to take action. And obviously, I recommend taking the action. So again, a strategy that you can implement straight away is recognizing the difference between emotional and physical hunger. That's where mindful eating comes in. Am I hungry? And then I want you to identify the triggers. You know, what is it that's triggering this emotion? Just take some time out, sit down for 5 minutes, and just really tune in with yourself and find out what's going on, what's annoying you, what do you need to do, and just track them. Just find out where it's happening. And then what I want you to do is replace with a new food, and that is not a food in its real sense, it's actually an action. So what are you going to do? You know, are you angry because you haven't communicated something with someone? Are you scared because you don't have enough information about something? Are you hurt because you believe that someone's talking about you in a bad way? You know, find out what's going on, take a look at it, put some space around it, and just start to act on how you can fix it rather than going to the kitchen and to the pantry. We know that compulsive eating, emotional eating, and overeating, and that's when you're at that 100% full part, that are all sabotage for your weight loss journey and your health journey. So they're things that you need to get under control. I'm sure you've all heard this one, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That is the definition of insanity. So you can continue doing what you're doing today. Same old, not a problem. I don't have a problem. I don't have any judgment. But don't expect a different result if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. You need to change what you're doing to get a fabulous new result. And that result is so attainable. You just have to believe that. Lifestyle factors, sleep, exercise, and mood are probably what I believe the 3 biggest factors that affect your weight and health journey. Sleep is nutrition for the brain. Okay, it is so, so important. And lack of sleep, we know, dulls your activity in your frontal lobe. It spikes your reward center. So guess what? Your cravings start to go off. It plays havoc with your hunger hormones, and you suddenly feel hungry all the time, and you feel like you have to keep eating to build up that energy so that you're just not going to fall asleep at your desk. We know that it plays havoc with your stress hormones, and that's a whole other thing I'll talk about in a minute. And we also know that lack of sleep gives you the increased risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. Why would you want to do that? So what do? You say you're talking to a teenager. I'm not. This is important for every one of us. Mind you, I do tell teenagers this. But you need to create a bedtime ritual. You need to try and aim for a similar time of going to bed every night. When you start to pay attention to your body, you'll probably find around that sort of that 10:30 mark is actually when you're tired and could easily go to sleep. But if you fight through that because you're watching a television program or you're sitting at your computer, guess what? You'll still be awake at 11:30, quarter to 12. So be aware of that feeling. Also turn off the screens at least 1 hour before bed. All screens, mobiles, computers, iPads, televisions. Hey, I'm guilty of this, but it's something to be aware of. And we also know the blue light generated from the computers and screens is not doing you any good. I like this one. Keep bedrooms for sex or sleep. That means keep those distractions out, for example, televisions and things like that. So just keep that bedroom as that place for sleep and or sex, or both. And try, as I said, try and keep those scheduled times. Even on the weekend, I mean, obviously you're out and you have a late night, whatever, etc. But try and get up around a similar time so that you just get your body into that motion. And an obvious one, avoid heavy meals, alcohol and caffeine right before you go to bed, because guess what? That's not conducive. I'm sure lots of people have had too much of any of those and they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with their liver going, help me. And lights out. You might sound silly, but we know that light, whether it even be a street light coming in from the window, is going to affect your level of sleep. So just keep the room dark and private. Exercise. Again, I could do a whole webinar, but everyone's debating on how, what, when, why, which method, how to do it, run a marathon, swim a channel, whatever it might be. I mentioned before it's 80-20, so it's 80 what you put in your mouth and 20% how you move your body. I'm all about finding your own mojo. That is, do something that you love. Don't go to the gym if you hate the gym, because you're automatically walking in there with this negative headspace. If you want to walk, walk. If you want to swim, swim. If you like running, run. That's what I recommend. I just recommend that you find something. If you're carrying a lot of kilos and you think, I can't exercise, I can't move my body in this way, just start with something small. Take 10 minutes. Say, okay, today I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. You can walk around your back garden, you can walk around the block, you can walk up and down your street. And the next day, say, you know what, I might do 12, and just slowly build up. The more you can move your body. And for those they're already doing some exercise, choose something you love. I had a client who was considerably overweight and she said, I don't want to exercise. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go to a personal trainer. I said, what do you love doing? She said, I love to dance. She said, but I'm embarrassed. I said, for who? She said, for whoever sees me. I said, well, let's do it in your own home. So she went home. She turned on her Spanish music and she danced for like 20 minutes. And she texted me and said, I had so much fun. That's what I recommend. That other lifestyle factor, which is stress. Now, this is a way of the 21st century and it's frightening, and we now live in this world of low-level stress because of our lives are so busy and frantic. So stress is there for a reason. It plays a very important part in our bodies, but it was there really for caveman days when we would turn the corner and there would be a bear in front of us and those hormones would be released and we would run as fast as the wind and climb that tree like a monkey. But how many of you have seen a bear lately? I'm guessing not many, but lots of us living in this low-level stress. And so as a result of that, this adrenaline and this CRH and this cortisol is playing in our body the whole time, which is not healthy. Initially, these hormones reduce your appetite, but within time they increase it. And that's what causes the havoc on your health and on your weight line. So eating becomes a big activity when you're stressed. And also cortisol promotes visceral fat in that midsection, and that's the really unhealthy fat around your stomach. And it's actually really dangerous because it gets around your organs and it kind of stifles them, and I don't want that happening. So you need to learn to get your stress under control. And also when you've got these low-level stresses, your muscles need fuel because that's the messages that you're sending it, so it starts craving sugar. And then all of a sudden you find you're craving sugars and starchy carbs, and then you're off and running again. And then the insulin response happens, I can't go into it now, but guess what? Fat goes into lockdown. I don't need you. I don't want you for energy, and it promotes weight gain, not weight loss, and we don't want that happening. So exercise, funny that. We know that exercise is one of the best stress relievers. So as I said, whether it's a 10-minute walk around the block, we know that relaxation is fantastic, and that's where you can do those deep belly breaths that I talked about earlier. We know that sleep is incredible for stress. So, but go to bed thinking good thoughts, positive thoughts, not negative ones, so that you have a more quality sleep. Again, that's a whole nother story. Eat real foods. Real foods are those foods which are sending your body all those right messages that your body will thrive and have vibrant health. Processed foods will just make your body stressed and exaggerate the whole problem. And obviously avoid caffeine, cigarettes, alcohol, that sort of thing. It's just not doing you any favors when you're stressed. Okay, quickly, goals. So important part of my work that I do with my clients. Your subconscious mind is amazing. It runs your body, it stores memories, it represses unresolved negative emotions. And this is all the work that I do. It organizes all your memories. I call it like a filing cabinet of your mind. It needs to, follow clear orders. And that's why when people say, you'll find I don't say weight, I lose weight, or I'm losing weight, because your subconscious mind doesn't find that a clear direction. It says, when I've lost weight, you go, I need to find it for her. Okay, we need to find it. So it starts to pack the kilos back on because you keep telling it, I've lost weight, and it's not a clear direction for it. That's why I say I drop the weight, I release the weight, I let go of it. It does not process negatives directly. So just right now, can you not think of a pink elephant for me? Your unconscious mind also is programmed to seek more. It loves to learn. It loves to keep learning. And that's why you're here today. And we know, as I said, it preserves the body. It does everything. How do you know you're breathing? How do you know your heart's pumping? How do you know all of that? It's preserving the body. And as I said, it has those two blueprints of health. You tell it to do, and you in vibrant, healthy you. So I'll reiterate what I said earlier. What occupies your mind most tends to turn into your reality and your behavior. So you fill your mind with good, positive thoughts, and your reality and behavior is going to be positive and healthy. So you need to be convicted that you can achieve your goal, and that's what we do. I set your goal for you. We have it very strong and vivid in your mind that it is just on your timeline and you are just heading in that direction from right now. And I show you how you can focus on your goal daily. And it's important. I mean, you can do this yourself now. You can create an image in your mind of who you want to be, what you want to look like, what you want to sound like, how you want to feel confident and healthy and vibrant and fit. And you can create that image in your mind and make it strong and spend about 10 minutes just really close your eyes and focusing on it. And focus on it every day. It's helping your subconscious mind get there because that's where it wants to take you. The beauty about all of this and the beauty about the subconscious or unconscious mind is you can say to yourself, I can do absolutely anything that I put my mind to. You just have to put your mind to doing, and you just have to tell your subconscious mind that's exactly what you're doing, and you're going to get there. So we have come to the end, and I am over time, and I do apologise, and so we're not going to have time for questions, but please just send me an email at info@carolinesilk and I will answer you immediately. But just the finale, the way you think, that's what we've talked about. It's that headspace, the way you focus, again, that headspace, and what you know now, and your consistent action. You have to act consistently from now is going to give you the results that you want. And you can get excited about that. Those results are going to happen from you if you start implementing these strategies and tools that I've taught you from right now. So congratulate yourself for being here, and I'd like to thank you for being here. And yes, one last time, here is the address again of my program. I would love you to go and have a look and just see if it's right for you. And maybe we will be meeting again very soon. I'd really look forward to it. And I was just thinking, what can I do as an extra bonus And I'm thinking food diary makeover would be a really good thing. So I'll get you to do a food diary for a week, and then you'll send it to me, and I will give you a very detailed food report of how you can do it better. But we'll talk about that later. So again, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate that you've taken the time out of your busy schedule to turn up. I hope you have discovered a lot about you and a lot about how you can make your journey to the healthier version of you a lot easier. Take care. Be healthy, be happy, and be amazing. See you later. Oh, there's that offer again. Bye for now.